Hey, Mark, we've had a great year getting this practical still up and running. What's next?
That's a great question, Dan. Hey, this is Mark Still with the Practical Still here with Dan Cavallari, and it has been a good year. We've gotten this thing rolling. We didn't necessarily have a lot of direction when we started, other than we like drinking whiskey. It's a good question. What's next, Dan? I mean, what do you think?
Well, we've managed to keep ourselves upright on our stools. Neither of us have fallen off at any point during recording this year.
Not that you've noticed.
No, I've tried. I think we've got a lot of room to grow. Honestly, the reason we started this was to mostly drink together and talk about whiskey. I'd say we accomplished that goal pretty well, and I think we should keep doing that. But man, you made a good point earlier. This is not called the whiskey anything. It's not called the bourbon anything. It's called the practical still.
Yeah.
So what do you think about branching out?
I think that's a great idea. We talked about that in the beginning. It's one of the reasons. Obviously, we didn't name it the Practical Still because my last name's Still. That'd be crazy. We did it.
What a coincidence that would be.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. That didn't enter my mind. But we named it that because, clearly we were into whiskey, particularly bourbons and ryes, but we named it that so we wouldn't be limited because there's a lot of great spirits out there. And I think that's really what we're after is, what are the spirits we can enjoy that are available now and things we can get a hold of that don't cost an arm and a leg. And frankly, maybe there are some other spirits outside of whiskey that haven't experienced the growth, and you can still get awesome rums or tequilas that are reasonably priced. So that's part of the thinking. And we were thinking ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea. And, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of, I've got history with tequila.
Good history? Or?
Yeah, I would say so. Pretty healthy history. Well, yeah, I've had an abusive relationship with rum in the past. So we could do the practical still life and talk about art. I don't know.
Well, I think we're here to support each other. So certainly some of the dumbest things I ever did as a young man involved tequila. But now my wife likes tequila, and we've branched out recently and found some things that, frankly, if I just tasted them, I wouldn't have thought, well, that's tequila, because really good tequila doesn't taste like really bad tequila, and that's great. And clearly, whiskey's my first love. I think whiskey's your first love.
Yeah,
not our wives. Those are clearly the most important people. Of the beverages we consume,
yes,
whiskey's our first love, and nothing will change there. We'll still be more whiskey than not. But gosh, there's just been some really good tequilas. There's some great rums out there, and frankly, I want to experience that, and I want to share that with you, and I want to share that with folks that are listening.
Yeah. No, and my wife, before she was my wife, lived in Mexico City, and I was a lovelorn fiance, and so I traveled down there and lived with her for a very brief amount of time, and so you can't go a few feet without running into tequila down there, and I specifically remember there was this big mall, and there was a store dedicated to just tequila. And you would walk through the aisles, and there would be people stationed there, and they would say, sample, and they would hand you a little sample. And I'd say, why, thank you. And I would take the sample. And then I'd walk to the next aisle, and there'd be another person, sample? And I'd say, why, thank you. And they'd say,
it's like Costco.
Yeah. I was just hammered by the time I left. And we walked out of there with the best bottle of tequila I ever had, which was called Dos Pistolas.
Nice.
And I ended up drinking about half of it, and then I traded half of it for a bike. So it kind of it worked out nicely for me, I'd say.
Outstanding. So in that vein, I think, there's some plans we've loosely talked about. So let's kind of outline that. First up is, what does that mean for the podcast? I think in general, that means we're going to talk about some other spirits in addition to whiskey, right? And I think too, you've been working diligently on a pretty big expansion for us, which would be having guests. So instead of you and I cracking each other up and talking about the whiskey we drink together, maybe we pull some other folks in. And not to spoil anything, because we're still working on it, but inside and outside the industry, right?
Yep. Yeah. So in the course of this, it's become pretty clear to me that my interests overlap with a lot of interesting people. And so I spent a lot of time in the bicycle industry, and it turns out a lot of bicycle riders really enjoy whiskey.
Yeah.
And so there's some neat personalities there who are interested in coming on the show to talk whiskey. And there's some folks who actually make whiskey that are perhaps interested in coming and talking to us that we're working on lining up. So yeah, a pretty wide variety of guests that could be on here. And some people, I think it would be neat to have some folks on who maybe don't like whiskey or know whiskey, excuse me, but are interested in learning about it.
That's how we started.
That could be cool
right?
too.
We didn't always know, and we got interested, and here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's cool.
So that's a goal for me, is to get some more folks get some folks in general on the pod, and we do have a few people already coming up in the new year, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, so these are 2021 plans, and we're just a few weeks away, but that's exciting. I think it'll give a different vibe to the podcast, to give us different things to talk about. And hopefully
it'll actually give us a better gauge as to whether we're really funny or really not funny, or if we just crack each other up or other people.
But is that, that's good for the other people, but is that really important to us?
Yeah.
No.
Mark, I need everybody to love me. Everybody, all the time.
Oh, man, it's that 15-year age difference between us.
Yeah.
I'm over it. As long as I'm having fun.
Yeah, right.
In fact, it's on my Strava profile. In my mind, I'm going hard and fast, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah, I'm brilliant.
On this podcast, I'm sipping whiskey and giving notes, and I see it all, and that's all that matters to me.
Of the coolest people on this podcast, I'm in the top 2. So,
well, that's a bigger deal for me than it is you, because I'm not often in the top 2 coolest people of anything. So. Cool. So one of the other things we do, and I say we in a loose sense, is that the YouTube channel has grown a lot in the last 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
You have been on it.
I have,
but only when I pull the camera out during a podcast recording, back when we could do it together,
right,
and record you. So I'm going to give you some opportunities to join in beyond just the open the bottle in the back. So right now we do an open the bottle video when there's new bottles, first impressions, fresh crack kind of stuff. Although frankly, lately I will end up opening those bottles during a podcast recording.
Yeah.
I still think that counts as an open the bottle experience. It's still new. And then after we live with it for a while, we go back to the bottle and say, great, I've been through this bottle now. It's gotten better. It's gotten worse. I love it. I don't like it as much as whatever the case may be, because whiskeys change over time. Mm-hmm. And that's the back to the bottle video. So I think there's some categories that I want to branch out into. So one is around private picks, because we both really enjoy getting that store pick or that club pick.
Yeah,
it's something a little different. It's not one of those allocated situations where we're chasing stuff around. There's really good whiskeys that also have private barrel programs. So you get something a little unique from that. And we've talked about a few, but we've been hung up on those EWS picks for a while, but not everybody can get those. And so I thought maybe we should branch that out into its own videos, and keep the same focus, which is, I've got this pick. It's really good, but if you don't live around here, you're not going to get it. But here's how you do get close. This is what you can go look for. So I think that's a good extra playlist for videos on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. And, I think it's worth noting that I've been exceptionally lazy.
I think I've passively aggressively pointed that out enough.
Yeah. Boy, really? I hadn't noticed.
Oh, then I'll try harder.
Yeah. I happen to have stumbled upon a cornucopia of free time in the next, So in the next month or so, I should have some time to crack open the bottle. And I've been putting bottles aside and not opening them specifically because I've been like, you know what? I'm going to do an open the bottle of these.
See, now that's encouraging because I do the same thing, that I really want to open the bottle, but I don't want to miss an opportunity to share that with anybody that happens to listen. And so they tend to stack up until I do a few videos. So that makes my heart warm that you're thinking that way.
I am. And like I said, I've got got a backlog of bottles that I've put aside and not opened yet because of that. And now that I have a little bit of more, I hate to use this term, but bandwidth, I think I'm gonna go for it right after Christmas. I'm gonna do it.
Well, here's some other thinking. So there's open the bottle, there's back to the bottle. Now there's private picks, and I know you've got a few private picks around. The other things I'm thinking are, I think we have enough content that, not that I need any reason to ask people to play along, but to start looking for distillery samples, media samples.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that, and I want to keep that separate because some of the distilleries do send full bottles, but some of them just send little bitty things. So I think that if we get 2 ounces, you really can't do an open the bottle and back to the bottle with 2. Maybe some people could, but I'm drinking the 2 ounces. So I think separating that would be good. And I think some other, we talk a lot about how to what to drink. We don't talk about how to drink it. So I think there's some great things on glassware and how to store the whiskey and how to travel with it. That'll be fun. And that might give you
that's a good one, how to travel.
Yeah. Cause you're a traveler, right?
Yeah.
You've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And then we already talked about the not whiskey piece. So there's some other things you can do in videos. I don't want you to get bored if you do finally do a video.
Yeah.
I want you to have options.
I think too, one of a cool thing to do would be, we do our blind breaks here on the podcast. It'd be kind of fun to do some blind break videos.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think we're like for the century on guessing correctly, but that sure is fun to.
I think I'm doing pretty well, but then again, lately I've just gotten Melissa to pour me some stuff from my own shelf.
Yeah. You got the easy one last time. That was the Dickel. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, I think so far we've done, I don't know if all of them have been on, recorded, but I think she's done 3 of those recently. It was a Weller, a Dickel, and what was the other one? Anyway, she's been making it kind of easy on me because she loves me.
Yeah, that's not fair. We got to get her to get the mean, nasty, like cut deep.
Well, if you just want me to get it wrong, there's 14 bottles of Wild Turkey products on the shelf down there. So if she picks one of those, the chances of me sussing that out are pretty slim.
Yeah. I need you to get one wrong, Mark.
Well, I did get the one. What was the one that I didn't get? I wasn't even close.
Oh, that was the Whistle Pig.
Yeah, the piggyback. Yeah, I wasn't even close.
Yeah. No. But you did know that you didn't like it, and you knew you didn't like it last time.
But I didn't even figure out if it was a rye or a bourbon. It just, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can certainly do that. I think, that's a public service announcement, frankly, because people need to be drinking and tasting things blind.
Oh yeah.
Funny story. Mutual friend of ours. I won't mention Sam's name. He like you bought the kit from Spirits.
Oh, okay.
And so he drinks those and he'll text me and start telling me what he thinks about it. And Sam is quite lyrical. His tasting notes, even via text, are just beautifully written.
Right.
But like us, he rarely gets it even remotely close.
Yeah.
The last one, he went through and it had all these weird notes, and I kept thinking, boy, that really sounds like the Blood Oath Pack stuff. It's the Lux Rose source whiskey, probably from Barton. It's bitter and hot and doesn't have a lot of flavor. So I told him that, and he goes through it. He goes, yeah, it's exactly what I'm thinking. And then he gets to the end. He sends me the picture of the card, and it's a barrel 14-year Tennessee whiskey. I'm like, well, I've never tasted any of that that you talked about. So we joked about that a little bit. The blind tasting, but I mean, it's a great experience. So I agree. We should do more blind tastings, both on the podcast, certainly in some videos. That'd be a hoot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and what Mark was just talking about was this, my local shop here, Spirits Wine Provisions. They did a whiskey advent calendar. And so, you get 12 bottles of blind tasting samples. And, I've been drinking along here and I've got all sorts of notes we can go over later and some real surprises, some good stuff. And one of the blind breaks in a previous episode was my very first sip of Old Granddad 114.
Yeah.
I quite liked it. So yeah, that was fun. And I think I've been enjoying doing the blind taste, not because I'm going to ever guess gee, that's a pinhook. Like I'm not going to guess it. I'm just not going to. But what I do like is examining the notes and the tastes and the feel across the mouth. And it's like, wow, it really does help you sort of develop your palate, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah, and for sure, the simple fact that you don't know ahead of time, we're just biased creatures.
Yeah.
So if you can remove age statement biases, brand biases, sourced biases, all that bias, then you really get to taste it. And it's true. I mean, some people's egos just can't take that. But neither one of us have ever pretended to be able to. And frankly, I struggle to even just pick out. I know I like it. If I live with it a minute, I'll figure some things out. But gosh, to me, that's just. Even if you can do all that, it'll be different the next time anyway. So hey, I'm happy to put myself out there.
You'd be proud of me, Mark. One of the samples I had was Weller's Special Reserve,
and your favorite.
which I don't typically like. But I poured the sample and I took a sip. I said, "That's Weller's," and I was right. And actually I didn't hate it. I actually quite liked it. I don't know, maybe it was just like the mood I was in or something, but it was pretty okay.
But that's a neat point, because the mood you were in. Now, does that physically change anything? I don't know, but I can tell you that the mood you're in, the environment you're at, the people you're with, the state of mind, it absolutely changes your enjoyment or perception of everything around you, and certainly the whiskey you're drinking. In fact, Melissa and I decided last week we've been pretty happy with wine in the $20 to $40 range. We decided to step up, and a friend of mine is not only a whiskey fan, but he's a much bigger wine fan. And they were out here a while back, and I was sharing some good whiskey, and they were talking about wine. He said, listen, $100 bottle of whiskey, good bottle, lasts you a long time. $100 bottle of wine, gone in a night. Don't go there unless you're ready for that. And so, I sent him a note and said, hey, we're thinking of, I told you not to do that. But even he said, I can tell you all this, but you know how it is. The $20 bottle, the entry could be awesome with the right people. And the experience. I think whiskey's the same way. And I think that's why, I don't know, that's why it's been fun for us to take this little ride together. When we could have whiskey nights, that's why that was so much fun. And we say it all the time, but whiskey's about friends and sharing. And, it just isn't about this nonsense about secondary markets and standing in line and out. I could give a rip one way. Look, I'd love to have a William LaRue Weller. I'd love to have some Pappy, whatever. I'm just not chasing it when there's such good whiskey around and good friends to drink it with.
That, and that actually maybe should be one of our goals for 2021 is, and God willing, this COVID nonsense goes away and, things work out. But man, it'd be nice to do an episode with our whiskey group.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually in person with all the people that we were, enjoying all these wonderful whiskeys with for so long. I mean, we didn't get to do it. I think we did it once in 2020 or maybe twice.
I don't even remember.
Yeah. I mean, it's been such a lonely year in that regard. So maybe that should be one of our big goals is, assuming the vaccine works out and we can start meeting in person again, we should do some videos and podcasts with our good friends who enjoy these bottles with.
I think,
assuming they want to be on camera. And
I think they would, especially if we don't start till we've all been drinking for a while.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. I think it'd be good for people to see that we don't just say it. I mean, that's how we live the whiskey piece. And I think if you see people gathered like that, it's just fun. And whiskey's just part of that. It's not the only piece. We eat and we tell stories and.
I mean, I think we do more laughing than anything else.
Oh goodness, yeah. I mean, my cheeks hurt when we get done with it. It's good times.
Yeah, no, it's
good times.
It's great.
All right, so that's some plans for next year, and I'm excited about that. It has been a weird year, and two of those people in the group, my wife and one of the other fellow, Matt's partner, Rebecca, both nurses. Melissa's already had her first round of the Pfizer vaccine, so
Oh, cool.
We're excited about that. You know, I am not a frontline worker. I have been held up in my home for many, many months. Would love to get out, but just don't want to risk it. So I won't have a vaccine. You won't have a vaccine until the summer sometime. But
I'm not a frontline worker. I'm not even a backline worker. I'm no longer a worker. So
you just want to talk about that, don't you?
I'm working through some stuff. Okay.
And you are a full-time podcaster.
I am. Well, yes, among other things.
With all the rights and benefits afforded someone of that stature, which is nothing.
Nothing. Yes.
You got squat.
Yes. I'm a man of leisure.
Yeah. Well, leisure
for the time being. Yes. Yeah, I think those are all good goals. I mean, I think, basically I think we hit a winning formula with the podcast, and, the two most important people we can think of like it, and that's you and me.
There you
go.
Yeah. I hope other people play along, but
yeah. Well, there's been a lot of people humoring me saying, "Hey, I listen to your podcast, and hey, it's pretty good."
Yeah, and look, my mom, she's like my number one video watcher.
Yeah.
In fact, tonight earlier we recorded a video with her because mom's idea of drinking scotch was Chivas Regal.
Ooh.
So we had to fix that.
Yeah, disabuse her of that notion.
And she dropped me quite a few hints that she'd be interested in trying some single malt scotch. So we did a remote shopping trip. So she lives where I'm from in Alabama, and I'm, of course, out in Colorado. So we picked a store. She called me when she was out front. And on the phone, we walked around the store, found her a nice bottle of Glenmorangie La Santa, one of our favorites.
Yep.
And then I did open the bottle video because I had one of those here and had her on. We didn't plan very well. So I just had her via Google Meet on my laptop, and I had the camera going, and Mom and I drank some whiskey together. It was kind of cool.
Oh, man, I can't wait to virtually meet your mom.
She's a hoot.
Over La Santa, of all things.
I
mean, that's such a great drink.
She's a hoot. She liked it. And the coolest thing was, as I'm explaining everything to her and what's neat and how to taste the whiskey at first, I had her drop a little water in it, and she's like, oh, no. I liked it better neat. Like, hell yeah, you did.
It's in your bloodlines, Mark. Yeah.
Next step is to see if she likes peated scotch, because my opinion on that is it's genetic. You like it or you don't.
Yeah.
She's the half of me that's Middle Eastern and the Mediterranean kind of thing. My dad was, a redhead, and I can't imagine he would have liked peated scotch. I think Mom's gonna like it. But,
yeah, all right. We'll that'd be a good back to the bottle.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's another topic for us is drinking with moms.
Yeah. No, I bet my mom would do it for sure. Yeah. Although I don't know, my mom's more of a wine person. We'll see. She'll dip into whiskey though. I bet if I get her something real good.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah. Good times. So
let's see.
Are we blind breaking tonight? I don't have anything prepared. I can text down to Melissa and get her to bring me something. Or if you've got something, we can just stick to it on your side.
Well, I've got two. So, okay, I didn't really this whiskey advent calendar. I did not stick to the days. I just started grabbing bottles whenever I felt like it.
It was Christmas 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been Christmas for a long time. So I've got two left. I've got the 12th day of Christmas or the 10th day of Christmas left. Which is not Advent at all, but anyway, it's a very mixed messaging here.
You have two small bottles of whiskey and you don't know what's in them.
Yeah, that's correct. So I'll let you choose 10th or 12th.
10th.
Well, let's do the blind break first.
Well, I'm going to go 10th.
Okay.
10th it is. Blind break. So we'll let Dan get that open, get it in a glass.
Yeah. Yep.
Take a minute and visit with our blind break sponsor. And when we come back, he's sniffing already, nosing. He's got the oration glass too.
Oh yes, I will orate.
We'll take that break, and when we come back, we'll see where Dan is on it, and let's see if he goes for the win or if he whiffs it again.
All right,
cool. Be right back. As a whiskey aficionado, you're likely drawn to intricacies and experiences that others miss. The Acadian offers everyday carry products from their workshop on the coast of Maine. From handcrafted pins to finely stitched leather products and more, priding themselves on crafting high-quality products with a Maine flair. You could use any pen and paper, but doesn't sipping your best-loved bottles while making tasting notes with a pen built for top-shelf reflection in a notebook covered by handcrafted leather sound so much more inviting? Of course it does. Visit theacadian.me today and use promo code STILL15 to get 15% off our favorite fine writing instruments, journals, and more. And don't forget to take care of your whiskey glasses with a set of the York's leather coasters. Come on, we're not animals. All right, we're back. Dan's been nosing this while we're gone.
Yeah.
He's deep in there.
It's sweet. There's like spice and clove and sugar. This is definitely a maybe it's finished. I don't know. Maybe it's finished because it's got something sweet, maybe like a port cask or something.
So finished whiskeys, I always feel like I smell them when the glass is still a foot away from my face.
Yeah, I mean the sweetness hits you really quickly.
Yeah,
I would say, and from far away, and this definitely does that. Let's see.
It's quite dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's okay. So it does have that spice, but this does not feel like a big whiskey. Like there's not a lot of alcohol burn. The finish is really fast. Flavor's good. I mean, it is sweet. I think it is finished.
It's super dark though. Mm-hmm. Is it as dark? Because I'm looking at it across Skype. Is it as dark as it seems?
It is. I mean, it's darker than the 12th day of Christmas.
That's a brown
sure.
bottle, Dan.
No, it's not. It's clear. Come on. This is only my second glass. Give me a break.
That's right. I'm the one that's been drinking for 2.5 hours before we even started recording. Yeah. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So here it is. Here it is side by side with some rare breed, Wild Turkey rare breed. And the rare breed is definitely more of a reddish amber color. So this is not as dark as that, but it is pretty dark. Yeah. What I'm getting mostly is a really sweet sort of finished whiskey kind of feel. So I'm guessing low proof.
But I asked you this last time, so because I regret the rye you snuck up on me. I just regret thinking this way. But the ryes you're going to have those vegetal notes, those herbs. Mm-hmm. Are you getting any spearmint, any dill in there?
No. I also should note that you said 10th day of Christmas. I accidentally opened the 12th. So I'm actually drinking the 12th day of Christmas.
Well, that changes absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Because I can't smell, taste, or...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this is, but my guess is something finished, if I had to guess. I don't know. It's not big. It doesn't linger across the tongue very much, and the finish is very quick. So let's see what this is.
Before you do they, when you buy into this thing, is it all American whiskey? Could it be absolutely anything?
Well, it's all American whiskey. It's no Scotch. I'm looking through what I've already tasted. Yeah, it's all American whiskey. A mix therein, but it's all American. It's no Scotch. So let's see. Should we flip the card? See what this is?
Let's flip the card. Let's see. Unless you have a guess or something you want to get. Nope, he's laughing.
It's Blanton's single barrel, 93 proof.
Well, hey, you were all over that. Not the finish part, but low proof.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Nothing disagreeable about it.
No, it's okay. This would be my second glass of Blanton's ever, and it's pretty much in keeping with my first taste. Where there's nothing bad about it. It's quick. It's not a big bold flavor. It's okay. I mean, I know there's a lot of fanfare around Blanton's, which I guess I've never really understood. But yeah, it's a good serviceable whiskey. I would drink it again.
Well, if you choose to, there is. You'll be shocked to know there is a bottle of unopened Blanton's in my cabinet.
I'm shocked that there's only one.
Well, there were two.
Oh, okay.
Somebody, I forget who, wanted to taste Blanton's, so I opened it. And look, I like Blanton's, but I tell you, for for the fervor around Blanton's, was it? Because a regular old Blanton's goes for $85 to $100 these days, depending on how bad somebody wants that dump date that's on the label.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've got a bunch of Eagle Rares I paid $28 for. Different Buffalo Trace mash bill, but close enough. Probably a year and a half to 2 years extra age, because the Eagle Rare is a 10-year stated product. Blanton's is not, but it's acknowledged to be 8 or 10 years old. The 3 proof points doesn't matter to me. Eagle Rare is 90. I really like Eagle Rare. I can even today you can still buy a regular old bottle for $35 or $40.
Yep.
So
I actually bought one the other day.
Oh yeah, look at
there. I don't know if you can see this. So I actually went into Spirits, Wine and Provisions, and Casey I was on my way out. Casey was coming in, and he said, "Hey, go over to the Schoolhouse, which is a bar and restaurant across the street." He said they're doing Eagle Rare single barrel select picks of theirs, and they have an engraving machine, so you can get a laser engraving on your bottle of Eagle Rare.
Oh,
so
nice.
I went over, I got the last bottle, and I don't know if you can see, Mark, but I got
look at that.
the practical still.
How about
engraved.
that?
And then I'll put that up on Instagram so y'all can see it.
Yes, that's exciting.
So yeah, and I did see Eagle Rare on the shelf also a couple days later at a different, not at Spirits, and they were, what did I say? I sent you a message.
$40-something.
49 or something.
Yeah, ridiculous.
That's twice what I paid for the last bottle I bought.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I won't do it until the pile of $28 bottles is gone from the cabinet.
I almost pulled the trigger on a second bottle, but I don't know.
Don't do that.
Eagle Rare
I got plenty to help you out with. Don't do that.
I know. I was going to say Eagle Rare is tough to find, but I always know where to get it, Mark. It's always at your house.
Well, there's at least 5 or 6 bottles. Actually, I forget how many's back there, but there's 5 or 6 of them at least. Funny thing, Eagle Rare, I'm pretty sure at one point it was a single barrel product, 10-year single barrel product. And then they don't, back then they hand bottled. And at some point they installed an automated, faster bottling line, and they really couldn't tell where one barrel ended and one began because they were still dumping them one at a time. And so they just went, well, whatever, it's a small batch now. But still, most of the time you're drinking whiskey from one barrel. You just don't know for sure. Some of them will have some blend in it, but I just think it's a fabulous whiskey for the price.
I agree. I mean, it's a 10-year-old whiskey. I mean, boy, you can't get that really very often for what we were paying for $25 or $30.
Yeah, and it's what makes some of the really expensive 10-year-olds just makes you, like I've got that Michter's Rye single barrel from 2019. It's a 10-year-old product.
Yeah,
I paid $130 for that, and hell, that stuff goes for double that now.
Speaking of Eagle Rare, and one of the open the bottle bottles that I had put aside was the Blue Note 10-year single barrel store pick from Spirits,
and I have one of those too.
Yeah, and so funny enough, it was one of the blind tests in my advent calendar.
Have you had it yet? Because I'm dying to know, because the label on that was hilarious, which
I did.
I don't care about the labels, but that one was funny. What if I told you this was not Dickel?
Yeah. And honestly, when I blind tasted this, I swear to God, I thought it was Eagle Rare.
How about that?
Yeah, and in fact, I wrote my notes here. My notes were, as I'm tasting, I wrote, pretty darn good, reminds me of Eagle Rare.
Well, so what I've heard is, because I mean, obviously, Blue Note didn't sneak in the last couple of years and magically come up with a 10-year-old Tennessee whiskey that wasn't already hanging out somewhere. But what I read was, I guess Dickel has on occasion distilled whiskey with a different mash bill than the typical Dickel mash bill, and that's what this is. And so it's not Dickel from the standpoint of what we've come to expect in a flavor profile, even though it may have been distilled there in Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Sure.
So I'm dying.
And I did not get any Dickel funk in it at all. Like, it is a totally different flavor profile, and it's good. It's very good. I'm actually really excited now to open the bottle because, this was only a little 1 ounce sample. It's a different experience cracking open that bottle. And I don't know. I think I'm excited for it. So
cool. Well, maybe we can figure out how even remotely we can do that at the same time.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so fun blind. Something different.
Yeah. Well, Blanton's in the cup here.
I applaud Casey because that stuff's tough to come by these days. Regardless of what you think about it, it is quite popular.
Yeah, it's crazy how popular it is. In fact, I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not a bad whiskey. It's not my favorite, but boy, it has such a cult following.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot, but once it, and I would probably continue to buy it. I think the last 2 bottles I bought, I paid $52 or $53 for. I would continue to buy it at that. I enjoy the whiskey.
Yeah.
But
it's really smooth. I mean, it's well done.
There's absolutely nothing that's not wonderful about it except the price, and that's just absurd. So I'm not doing that.
I would pay $50 for this for sure.
Yeah. Now I would have a hard time. I'm staring at the shelf. Back in the day when I could get E.H. Taylor small batch for $35, I can buy Eagle Rare for $28.
Right.
More often than not, I probably go one of each and leave the Blantons on the shelf. But
sure.
But yeah, once in a while I'd buy the Blantons at that. I like it.
Yeah, and I feel like Blanton's just such a nice bottle to have on your shelf.
Yeah, and look, a moderately proofed 8 to 9 year old, maybe 10-year-old single barrel standard offering whiskey for the money. I'm buying the Dickel hand select bottles. I'm buying Kentucky Spirit from Wild Turkey. They're there all the time. The price is stable. They're absolutely delicious. I'm just not chasing something around like that. I'm not going to be the industry's whipping boy yet. There's just other good whiskeys to drink.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. How does that relate to next year?
I can't answer that question because
we drifted off topic.
I'm too enthralled with my glass of whiskey now.
Speaking of glasses of whiskey, in the Christmas spirit of giving, I am enjoying a glass of the Peerless Rye that you gifted me not long ago.
That is such a great bottle.
It is fabulous. Isn't it? I guess I've been into it 2 or 3 times. It's how I have about a month of air on it. It is absolutely delicious. I cannot believe this is a 4-year-old bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, Peerless really does itself. I mean, I sung the praises of the bourbon, and I had a bottle of the rye. Someone had sent it to me as a gift, and my first experience with it was like, it's okay. It's no Pikesville. But man, the longer that bottle sat open on the shelf, the better it got.
Yeah,
I think. And then you cracked it open last time you were down here, and boy, that was good.
It's funny how some whiskeys do change drastically once they're open. I wonder with Peerless, because I always say little things matter, and with this whiskey, there's the sweet mash versus sour mash. They don't chill filter. They go in very low on the barrel entry proof. I can't remember for sure. It's 103 or 5 or 7 proof, super low. Maybe that's where there can be a lot of difference versus something that's more traditional. It's going in the barrel at 125. It's a sour mash. There seems to be less change in that, but something is dramatically different. Both the bourbon and this rye, over the course of that first half a bottle, just it's almost like I want to say that it matures more.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's in a glass bottle, but it really tastes completely different than the first time I had this, a month or 2 ago.
Right. Man, it'd be really, we're still pretty small here, but man, it'd be nice if we could get to a point where we could get some of these distillers to come on the show and tell us what are you doing that's different? I mean, for such a young whiskey, how are you making these flavors so well done, so mature, so we could seek that out, see if we can con somebody into coming on the show.
I don't know if it's con. I mean, not that I sell stuff all day long for a day living, but certainly it's an opportunity. They'll probably be more relaxed because we're such easygoing folk.
Oh, sure.
They'll just want to tell us these things.
Yep. Yeah, and if they say something wrong, I mean, there's only you, me,
your mom. There's a lot of people. There's I dare say hundreds of people at this point listening. Per the analytics.
We have grown. We have grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm proud of us.
I'm proud of us too. This is our pandemic project.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that you certainly have a professional background in content production and professional journalism, whereas I do not.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that initially I think you were concerned, do I want to do a podcast with this bonehead? So I'm pretty proud that it's worked.
And it turns out I'm the bonehead here.
No. We're both boneheads, Dan.
Oh, okay.
It just took us a while to figure that out.
Yeah, as long as we're in this together.
I think we're entertaining boneheads.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
When two boneheads get together, you rub two boneheads together and
a little spark of
a little spark.
Yeah. Look at a little spark going. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. But
that's honestly for as small as we are, what we've already talked about is a pretty ambitious list of things to do for 2021.
Yeah.
We could probably add to that list even more. I mean, because that's what we do, right? We add and add and add, and then we realize maybe we can't do all that stuff all at once, but let's try to do what we do well. And I think that's the thing, right? The main goal for me, and I'm sure for you, is we're here to be authentic and real. The things we're telling you because this is what we taste. This is what we think. This is what our experience has been. So that's, to me, the core of all this is, I'm going to taste this whiskey and tell you if it's good or not. And we're going to discuss why and try to discover what makes that whiskey. And I think that education part of it is really fun because we get to learn along with our audience.
Absolutely. And I think too, that it can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a store the other day and looking for wine, and the wine rep was in the store. So he was helping me, of course, pick out all the wines he reps, but whatever.
Yeah.
And at some point I said something about whiskey, and he goes, well, what about this? And I said this, and he goes, well, what about this whiskey selection? Is it any good? And I went, it's okay, but a third of those whiskeys all come out of the same distillery. He goes, what do you mean? Right. And, it goes from there. So I don't want people to be intimidated when they walk in the store. Hopefully we've been passing on some information that helps people find really good whiskey, because it's gotten a little expensive. Even, a moderately priced bottle of whiskey now is $40 or $50. That's significant to people. And to get home and taste it and have it not be good is not fun. And then if you buy 6 or 7 bottles and think you've done a good job, and then later figure out they all come from the same place, doesn't mean they might not be tasty, but you'll feel a little taken that you bought 5 brands, but you got the same whiskey.
Right.
So hopefully we're helping people figure that stuff out. I think it helps me dig in a little deeper and think a little more, because I know I'm going to share that with people. So I want to share good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the funny thing is, just recently I've had 2 people reach out to me and say, I'm not a whiskey aficionado, but I want to get into it. Where do I start? And I had the answer like that. I was like, oh, try this, and twice now I've recommended Wild Turkey 101 because it's reliably good and it's inexpensive.
And the third thing is, it's fun to look at people's face when they go, what?
Yeah,
really?
Right. Exactly. Wild Turkey. Yeah. And I don't know that I would have known to recommend that, even a year ago or, 2 years ago when we first started doing all this stuff. But now I know it. It's like it's in my head. So, I think you and I have benefited from this as much as anybody.
Oh, for sure.
Even if only a few people out there are actually listening, you and I have had a blast with this and we've learned a lot. So, Hey, we win.
We win. If we win, everybody wins.
Yeah.
We're drinking whiskey and having fun. And that's what we want people to do.
For sure.
These days, 1 minute somebody's drinking some Jack and Coke, and the next minute they're camping out for Pappy. There's just so much in the middle of that. That's
right.
It's fun you can have now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what
Easy
I want.
Back to the Future, Doc Brown. This is a process. You can't just jump around time.
Exactly. Well, you can.
You can.
But you just miss out on stuff. And if that's what you think whiskey is, it's either some cobbled together well whiskey cocktail or it's Pappy 23. But you're not going to live with that for long.
Yeah.
And you're going to miss the really enjoyable part that's sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I went through sort of what a lot of people do when they get into whiskey is the pendulum swung, I started over here and, Jim Beam was the fancy or, Maker's Mark or, the things, that's the fancy stuff to you. And then you realize what else is out there. Not that those are bad whiskeys at all, but, you realize what else is out there. You swing all the way to the other end and you want to test all these high end whiskeys that are $100 bottles and $200 bottles. And then at some point you kind of swing back to the middle and you're like, okay, well, both of those are good, but I want to live somewhere in this range in the middle. Those $50 to $60 bottles that are going to last a while and taste reliably good. And I know when I walk into the store, it's going to be there. That's where I live right now.
Yeah. For sure. And I think too, on that pendulum, the dollar difference magnitude is huge.
Mm-hmm.
The enjoyable tastiness of the whiskey, not so huge. So you spend an extra 100, you don't necessarily get an extra 100 in flavor. There's a lot of flavor to be had in that $50 or $60 range. And hopefully people have listened to us and figured that out too.
Right.
I do think though, so craft distillers, small distillers, when there's a budget involved, it's hard to support them sometimes because they're selling 2 and 3 year old and 18-month-old whiskey for 60, 70, 80, $100 or more a bottle. When there's a budget involved, that's a big risk. So I do think, and I hope that one of the things we get to do going forward, if not in 2021 at some point, is we figure out how can we support those distilleries. How can you and I go find out that, for instance, that Boulder Spirits bottled in bond bourbon you had, delicious. Gladly pay the $48 or $50 for that. How do we find more of those and share those? Because I want to support those guys. I heard, I forget who, maybe Fred Minnick talking about if you want innovation in whiskey, you've got to support craft distillers.
Right.
There is not a tremendous motivation for Jim Beam, although they all the big distillers have experimental programs. There's not a tremendous incentive for them to step too far out of the norm because, they don't have to. But these smaller distillers are the ones that are going to do the interesting things. And so we have to support them if we want to see change in whiskey. Sometimes that change is not necessarily good, but sometimes it is. And so how can you and I, and this is something we'll work on, but how can we figure out how we can, blaze that trail, find those things, because we're going to miss and we're going to have a bottle that's just crappy. Yeah. But it's better for us to do that and share it than it is for 150 or 200 people to do the same thing. So I hope we figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that goes sort of back to what we talked about with, the key to a lot of this for us has been community. It's just building this community of people who enjoy what we are doing and having our whiskey group and talking and making those friends. And I think that's part of it, right? Is getting the local distillers and the small distillers who are trying to make the next thing in whiskey and building them into the community too.
Agreed.
So I think that'd be an admirable goal.
Yeah, agreed.
Makes us sound like philanthropists.
Whiskey philanthropists.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
The more we drink, the more fun that word gets.
Yeah, no kidding. I've been drinking for 2.5 hours. So.
Good for you. Wow.
Well,
I still got some work to do.
You had a weird week. I had a weird week. Different weird, but weird.
Yeah.
And boy, when the bell rang today, I was like, all right, where's the booze?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a standpoint that I think that's something too. If you're listening to us and you hadn't gotten into whiskey, when Dan and I pour whiskey and drink it, it's an ounce of whiskey. Might take us 35 or 40 minutes to sip that ounce. So,
we're not slugging them back.
No, not at all. No. So when I say I've been drinking for 2.5 hours, we did a couple open the bottle videos. I drank a little with my mom and poured before here. So, please don't take that as a permission to overindulge.
Right.
Sometimes that happens, but not regularly.
Yeah, but that's not our goal.
Correct.
Before we sign off, Mark, I just want to show you. So we had bought a bottle for our last whiskey group, whiskey experience that we had to cancel due to COVID restrictions. This is the barrel whiskey private release It's a Kentucky whiskey finished in a pear brandy cask. Your sample is safely put aside. Don't worry.
I was going to ask, is that mine you're drinking?
Well, so the problem was my sample was on the bottom, so I had to drink through yours to get to
it. Fair enough.
Yeah. But I got to say, I don't even like pears, but I love this pear brandy whiskey.
Well, I think we split that in threes.
Yes.
The other group did not like it, I hear.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not on Facebook anymore, so I'm out of the Facebook group, so I don't get those messages. Yeah. But I quite liked it a lot. I think it's, that's very good.
Our mutual friends who remain nameless, Sam, liked it a lot. It was in his Advent or whatever.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And he liked it a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is fantastic. I think it's just so smooth, and the finish is not. It's finished in a bear.
Forget that last part where I said we don't
a bear brandy, a pear brandy cask. And we've talked about barrel before and how it's such a light touch that they do with these finishes. It's so good. So really, I don't want to rub it into your face, but this is excellent.
I noticed it comes out of the bottle rather fast and fills the glass up quickly.
Very, very quickly.
Is that unique to that whiskey, or is that?
It's unique to my hand.
Well, you enjoy that. Sooner or later, we'll arrange a porch handoff.
Yes.
And I'll get my hands on that whiskey that I've already paid for that you're drinking.
I think it's worth the wait.
Well, it was, but now it's just getting ridiculous. I want to taste the whiskey. Okay, so good 2020. Thanks for everybody that listened. Thanks for everybody that watched a video or read something on the website. We certainly greatly appreciate it. We appreciate those that have reached out and comments on the videos and on the website. It's been awesome. And hopefully it grows. And if it does, it's thanks to you guys sharing it. And if you get a chance, thumbs up or thumbs down everything, give a rating. Let us know what you want to hear. We certainly greatly appreciate that. What else, Dan? We're last one for 2020.
Yeah, we're just personally, I'm just happy you're all here listening, and I hope you'll tell your friends about us, and we can all have a conversation together in 2021 over some lovely bottles of whiskey.
More whiskey fans is better whiskey fans.
I agree.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, you know where to find us on the socials, on the website, thepracticalstill.com. Check out the YouTube channel. Keep listening. Share it with your friends. We're on all the major platforms for the podcast. Just search The Practical Still. Dan, thank you. And cheers.
Yes, sir. See you in 2021.
Absolutely. Cheers. Cheers.